Hi, Lauren. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Buddy. My name is Miles Goff. It's Goff actually, but I get that a lot. Some people call me Jeff. Mix it around. I get lots of different sayings, so it's no big deal. I'll just share my screen here. I'm going to go through a presentation, to kind of talk about what NB Power is doing in the residential energy efficiency space. Looks like you could probably see it now. So yes, we went through introductions already. I'll be speaking, then my colleague will be speaking in French, my colleague Joe, and Diane will be monitoring the chat for questions. So feel free to put questions there as you come up with them. So in addition to residential programs, NB Power does have a full suite of efficiency programs for basically kind of every sector in the province. You can see the residential ones there. I won't go through all of them, but we target different sectors, new construction, renovating existing homes, as well as low income. We have commercial energy efficiency programs that come in different streams, and as well as industrial, and those are really highly customized, really project specific programs. Since 2015, when NB Power became the delivery agent for efficiency programs in the province, New Brunswickers have saved quite a bit of money in their energy bills, in their factories, businesses, or homes. We've reduced a lot of GHGs. You can see the equivalent number of cars taken off the road there, and a lot of money has stayed within the local economy for energy retrofits and other energy efficiency improvements from different vendors and contractors in the province. So to talk about residential and specifically, this is the program I focus on a day-to-day basis. We have the Total Home Energy Savings Program. It's for the retrofit of existing homes. It's available to everyone in the province, regardless of your electricity provider, regardless of whether you're an NB Power customer or not. And it doesn't matter what your starting fuel type is. So you could heat with oil, gas, wood, electric baseboard, whatever. It costs $99 plus HST to participate. That you'll pay that when you get your initial energy evaluation, and it follows the EnerGuide rating system, which is administered by Natural Resources Canada in Ottawa. It's a holistic program. It targets energy usage in all sorts of parts of your home, building envelope, including air tightness and windows, heating systems of all different fuels, including and as well as some water heating solutions as well that lower your bills there. There is a 2 audit process. They bookend the work you do. So you have an initial energy evaluation, you perform work between that first audit or evaluation, and then you have a second one. And so we get a picture of where you started and kind of where you went to. And so we can gauge what your improvement is and what your incentives would be. Just a note there to make sure you don't start any demolition and don't start any work before you get that first audit. So to talk a little bit about kind of what's available in the program, there's insulation incentives, which are, we find, the most generous of any in the program. Yeah, you kind of get the most back. We give incentives based on how much of an area you improve and how much insulation you add to that area. So there's tables in the program guidelines, which you can find on our website, that will help you kind of estimate the incentive you can get. It just as one example, I have here a really typical improvement, adding R24, that's a certain thickness of insulation depending on the type that you choose, to a typically sized attic, around 1,000 square feet, would get $150 to $250 of an incentive towards that. Why is there a range? Because it's a bundling program. So by completing additional primary upgrades, you could increase the incentive you get for everything you do in the program. So we kind of encourage you to kind of do more things at once. We don't have specifics around insulations type, anything recognized in Canada as an insulating material. And basically any area that has heat loss to the outdoors. So if it's 20 degrees on one side and it's minus 25 on the other, of some surface, you can probably get an incentive for it. So attics, walls, basement walls, exposed floors, things like that. And we do have requirements about how much you can add to get an incentive. So there are minimums. That you have to actually add. So I see Giselle. I actually have the chat here up. So I see Giselle Levac asked a question about what percentage of the total cost. We do some program design behind the scenes to sort of line up with that number, but it's different for each measure. I can say installation measures are the most generous, and they work out to be somewhere around, rough figure, around 30% of the costs. We didn't really design it that way, but that is how it works out. But again, when you go to the program guidelines, you won't see it phrased like that. Like we don't give an incentive based on the receipts you provide to us. We give an incentive based on how much you add and to how many square feet you add it to. So make sure you look at the program guidelines for that. So another big part of the program are heating systems, and so it's an all fuels program. You can come in with oil and move to a more efficient oil furnace or boiler. Like if you want to stay with your pellet system, or if you want to move from baseboard to heat pumps, there's a system for you. We don't encourage fuel switching, but you can change fuels. We just ask that you follow the efficiency hierarchy, and you can talk to us more, and maybe ask or talk to your energy advisor kind of what that means. And the incentives are given as fixed amounts. So, for example, a wood stove, it's an amount between, I know the lowest number off the top of my head, you can get about $250 for a wood stove. So it's a fixed amount, not like insulation that kind of moves. And some equipment, you can get quite a bit of money back. So geothermal heat pumps, the incentive can be, as high as $5,000 towards that system, which has a higher upfront capital cost, but really great energy savings to a measure like that. So to talk about the single most, popular measure, we call them, or upgrade in the program, mini split heat pumps. Something about the market in New Brunswick that really drives people to these. It's the housing stock that has a lot of electric baseboard. These are some examples of what the indoor units can look like. So a lot of you probably recognize this one in the bottom left, but these are all mini split heat pumps as well. This one you wouldn't see. Would be hidden in a ceiling or something, like you see them in hotel rooms. So they can come in different shapes and sizes for the application. We have a list of units. Here are the specs. I won't go over those, but we do vet the systems to make sure that they're cold climate heat pumps that perform, in the coldest days of a New Brunswick winter. And you have to use a system off that list, or purchase one, I should say, as well as use an approved contractor on our list, which you can find on our website. It's free to apply as a contractor. It's a vetting process we do to make sure that you meet the legal minimums to install heat pumps in the province. We're not recommending the quality of these contractors. We're just letting homeowners know that we've checked them out and that they're basically using electricians and refrigeration mechanics. So a little bit about the program in terms of how it's performing and whatnot. The average incentive we give is about $1,300. Just kind of works out that way, but we don't have a cap. So we have given incentives in the $10,000 range and around $15,000 for very big projects. But the typical project comes in at about $1,300. And we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of New Brunswickers bring their homes through over the last 3 years when the program launched, including this family in the Hampton area, I think. So to talk a couple of success stories, and pardon me if you've seen these before. This couple has a historic home in downtown Fredericton. You can see the upgrades they did, some insulation in their wall cavities with blown-in cellulose, some spray foam on their basement walls. They had a little kitchen add-on that had an uninsulated exposed floor, very uncomfortable when in the wintertime. They insulated that with spray foam, and they did some DIY air sealing. So they invested about $6,600 towards all this work, and they got back through our program about $3,800. So already a pretty good, covering, and and the actual savings adjusted for weather, those are real bill savings, are about $418 per year. So in that case, pretty quick payback. Doesn't always look like that. And a warmer kitchen floor. That was really a big reason they did it. So that little kitchen add-on is a lot better to spend time in now than it was before. This is a neat project that I would be remiss for not telling you about. This is a really ambitious retrofit of a 100-year-old home in the Gagetown area. So just some numbers, kind of, when the person moved in, they heated it to 12 degrees with a electric furnace, I believe, and it costs quite a bit of money. That's the heating cost for winter, $2,600. Some people's power bill for the whole year would be that much or lower. And they used an energy model to figure out what it cost if they heated it to a comfortable or livable temperature of 19. It was going to be a lot of money. So they did an extensive retrofit, took a lot of pre-planning and design and hand-holding with their contractor, but really ambitious. You can see kind of the specs of where they brought the home to on the left side. I won't go into those except kind of the interesting point about the baseboard. So because they're pursuing passive house certification, a properly designed passive house doesn't need a dedicated and active heating system. And so because of the work and the design and the planning that they did, they're getting away with about 2 feet of baseboard heat for the entire home. 2-story, quite large. But the stuff that I think, people would remember are these other non-energy benefits. The house is very warm. There's no drafts. It's very quiet because it's well insulated. The temperatures are really even wherever you are in the home. It's resilient to, climate impacts. There was a power outage for 5 days 2 winters ago, and the temperature inside the home only changed by 2 degrees Celsius. It was 20 degrees when the power went out, and 18 5 days later, which is an amazing climate resiliency story, really. They use local builders, local materials, and just a thing for them, they didn't want to use any foams. The blowing agents for foams have a high greenhouse gas potential. So yeah, here's what it looks like afterwards. So they used live edge cedar from a local mill for the siding, very distinctive. And their heating bill for the whole winter to 19 degrees Celsius is now only about $280. So really quite amazing. The upgrades to reach that, about $50,000. Not including repairs. For example, they redid the roof, but that had to be done anyway, and that doesn't have energy efficiency improvements, so that's not included in that number, along with a whole bunch of other things. But for the efficiency improvements, that's the number. They got quite a big incentive from NB Power, and they're saving a whole bunch of money compared to what they would have spent to heat the house to a livable temperature of 19 degrees Celsius. So really amazing story. That house does usually open up for tours as part of the Eco Homes tour. It's not Renewables NB, but it's anyway, keep your eyes open. They do an annual tour around the province of different energy efficient homes, and they usually step up and you can go and tour that house near Gagetown. So I'm just going to talk about a couple more things here. Something I'm sure you've heard about is the federal program launched May 27th called the Canada Greener Homes Grant. So I have to kind of stake out NB Power's position on this program. It launched without any consultation or input from really any stakeholder across the country, even the people running the program. We don't have any say or control in how it works, and it's already gone through a lot of changes. So unfortunately, NB Power can't be the source of knowledge for New Brunswickers on this program. I do want to share how you navigate both programs, because we understand that homeowners are going to want to do that because you can stack the incentives from both programs. And so what we suggest is that you enroll in NB Power's program first, because the service organization you pick, the energy advisor that will come to your home to perform an audit, is the delivery agent for the Canada Greener Homes Grant. And so you register with us, and as soon as you start talking with them, you can start to engage them about, is that program right for you? What are the incentives like? What are the rules, etc.? And you can register for that program separately. The audit that you get through our program, if you register for Greener Homes, is the same audit for the federal program. So it's one audit, and it works for both. And so that's an important thing. And there is an extra cost to that. So it's because it's a totally separate program with separate rules, separate administration, all these separate steps, extra work for your energy advisor, there is an extra cost of $250, which is out of the control of NB Power. And just you see what's in bold there. The programs are different. They speak a different language in terms of some incentives, and so what qualifies in one program may not in the other. So really the bottom of the slide there is the most important message. Go on their website. It's very comprehensive. There's a lot of reading, but it's all there. Yeah, and there's just one little detail about the program. You know, it has a maximum incentive of $5,000, or they call them grants, I should say, of $5,000. But there are lots of other program differences around eligibility and what specific systems that qualify and et cetera, et cetera. But that's the Canada Greener Homes Grant. We also have a program in market for new home construction. So the program has a bit of a different funding stream. So it is for electrically heated homes only. So you can't come in through the program and build a home heated with natural gas or oil as an example. Still the same cost. You pay $99. You submit your building plans. You register before you've even pulled your permit. You submit your building plans. You'll work with an energy advisor to tell you kind of where you're at and where you need to go to qualify for incentives. You have 12 months to build the house, and we come out and the energy advisor comes and does an energy audit to assess the performance of the home when it's finally ready for living. Again, it follows the Energuide rating system by Natural Resources Canada, and there are requirements, prescriptive requirements, things like certain R values and Energy Star windows. But then all the elements of the home together have to reach a certain performance target, and so you can see it there for the $6,000 incentive. The level 1 incentive has to be 55% better than a code-built home. And so that's taking everything into consideration: insulation and the windows you choose, and how good your builder was at air sealing details, the heating system, the water heating system, orientation, latitude. A house in Bathurst versus a house in Grand Manan has a different energy usage. And then there's an incentive for a house that reaches net zero, and that's $10,000. So that was a lot, but I forget, Lauren, did we say we wanted to take 5 minutes of questions now and then let Joe present and do 5 minutes of questions after him?
Yeah, that would be fine, I think, for sure.
I see Brad's typing one in the chat. I'll wait. Renting programs, that's a great question, Brad. So I'll give an indirect answer. In the Total Home Energy Savings Program, a landlord can bring a building they own through the program. So your landlord can bring the building through, make improvements, heat pumps, insulation, whatever. Of course, it has to make sense, from who pays utilities, whether they're going to do that or not. But for dedicated renters, we don't have a stream right at the moment. We've had various programs in market, low cost measures like rebates on light bulbs and whatnot at Home Depot and things like that. So there's no dedicated retrofit program or new construction program for renters at this moment. Yeah. So that's something on our radar. It's kind of a tough one for efficiency programs anywhere because the whole idea is that the person who owns the building should be the one making decisions about changes to the building, improvements, changing windows, heating systems, whatever. And so there's kind of a liability if you don't have that sign on. And so anyway, it's on our radar, and it's a good question. I see Lauren put incentives for solar. So yes, there are incentives for solar PV, so solar panels that generate electricity. The Total Home Energy Savings Program has incentives for solar. The incentives range from $200 to $300 per kilowatt of installed capacity. Make sure that you don't do any work before you have the audit, so register and have the audit. And just to let you know, there are minimum insulation requirements that you need to reach to access that $200. So we want to make sure that your house is kind of performing, decently before you consider a measure like that, because from the efficiency pyramid perspective, really solar or other renewable energies are the last thing you want to do. You want to start with air sealing, insulation, and then when you've got your heat load down, think of an efficient heating system. And then the last thing you do when you worked on everything else is something like a renewable energy choice. So yes, incentives for solar. Check out our program guidelines for the rules on that, and wait till you've had your audit. So I see Shelly is typing, and maybe after that, I'll pass it to Joe, and then we can do some questions after that. So Shelly's asking about a solar installation installed in July. You're right, Shelly. You already do know the answer. If you didn't get the equipment, and this applies to anything, by the way, heat pumps, a window you installed, insulation. If you didn't do it between 2 energy audits in our program, then unfortunately it's not eligible. So you're welcome to join the program and do further work in the future, but yeah, it's not. There's no eligibility for things installed before an audit. So Lauren, yeah, I think that's probably good. Again, Joe will present, and then there'll be time after his presentation to ask questions in French or English. If you can think of more, or if when he speaks you come up with more, we'd be happy to answer further.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe you already said this, but are there developers in the province that are sort of taking advantage of this program, and do you find that it's getting a lot of uptake, or is it sort of not that common?
Maz, do you want to answer this, or I could? It doesn't matter.
You got it, Joe. You got it.
Yeah.
I'll add some maybe or whatever. Yeah.
Sure. There's a bunch of developers actually currently in our programs and the new home program. They sure do take advantage of it. That's what we want. They build more efficient house, and we're there every step of the way to help everyone in our programs. Yeah, Miles, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, more than what is it, Joe? Around 70% of participants are builders, so more builders come through the program than those building homes. And yeah, Lauren and others, roughly 1,500 to 2,000. It's been more. 20 years ago, it was 3,000 a year of new homes that get built in New Brunswick, so around 1,500 to 2,000 homes per year. At the height of the program, we probably had more than half of those come in 2018, but right now we're looking at around 300 houses a year, which is a sizable percentage of the new homes being built. So we're happy with that. Yeah, so people are taking advantage of it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see Diane put that in the chat about the homes.
I'll come on there just with a quick question. I see that somebody might be typing one into the chat room, but just wondering, so I suspect there's a lot of people out there who would like to, improve the energy efficiency of their home and save some money on, power bills. So if you're, totally unfamiliar with this and just coming into it, what would be the best resources to learn more about it?
Yeah, good question. Natural Resources Canada has a lot of good materials that's really, trustworthy and not biased. There's this particular document that's really helpful from like a sort of a DIY perspective called Keeping the Heat In. It's digital. You can flip through it. You can download it. Yeah, NRCan would be, and that's kind of my go-to. Natural Resources Canada also has a licensing agreement with the Energy Star group, run by the US EPA. So lots of links you can find from the NRCan website to the US EPA, and they have a lot of great energy efficiency guidance as well. Just keep in mind some of it's directed at a cooling climate. So and there are some differences in energy efficiency between Texas and New Brunswick. So NRCan, Energy Star. Those are some good ones. Look towards NB Power's website over the next 6 to 12 months. We're going to have a refresh and have a lot more material on there now than we do now. There's some good stuff on there now. Look at our Twitter. We do have some kind of tips, seasonal tips that coincide with what's going on seasonally. NRCan and Energy Star that's where I go for a lot of material, to trust studies and whatnot. And, what is it something going to save? What is something going to cost? There's a lot there around those. So I see Giselle has a question, and I see Joe might be typing the answer. So no, you don't get the $99 refunded. It's a holistic energy audit. You're getting a 2-hour, 3-hour visit from an energy advisor, a specifically trained professional who's going to help you in your home, walking through your home, specifically identifying areas for improvement. So you're really getting a lot for the $99. It's not just a gate that you have to pass through to get some money towards the end. We hope people don't see it that way. It really is a value add service and a really great price for the service you get. So you're going to get a report from Natural Resources Canada, which Joe went over. In the old days, people used to stick those to their electrical panels. Eventually, when you buy a home, that report is going to be required to buy a home. It's coming probably within 10 years, maybe 5. And that will be the same audit that you have to go to when you do that. So we find there's a lot of value in the audit, and there's no refund for that if you're not eligible, or if you find your house is fully insulated. And there is no too insulated, let me just say. I've yet to see a house that couldn't have insulation added somewhere. Even that one in Gagetown, I could give me a little while and I could find something. So.
And one thing to add, and I see Diane wrote what I was about to say. These cost about $600, so NB covers around $500, which is quite a lot. But another thing that a lot of people don't really think about it is, if you have a good label that says your home is very energy efficient, if you want the resale value with this on the electrical panel that shows that you will save energy every year, it's a bonus when you're looking to sell your home, right?
Absolutely. And I was just going to add that I feel like there's very few existing homes, but even probably new homes that, wouldn't need some sort of energy saving or air sealing, or, lots of new homes are built fairly cheaply and they're not well air sealed, or, the majority of our existing homes in New Brunswick need a lot of retrofits to get them tighter and stuff like that. So I feel like that situation would be quite rare to do the energy audit and be like, no, it's perfect, it's great. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, the heavy lifting, in housing as a tool to fight climate change, the heavy lifting is in the retrofit space. 1,500 new homes a year. There's, I should know the number. There's 350,000 households, actual houses, something around 300,000 to 400,000 houses in the province of New Brunswick. So I think it's clear where the heavy lifting is going to come from. If you want to use buildings as a tool to fight climate change, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit still.
For sure, absolutely. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll let Dan know maybe do the thank yous.
Yeah. So I think that we're good here, but thank you all so much for that really informative presentation. It's great to learn about some of the energy saving programs that are available in our province. So if anyone's interested in learning more about NB Power or their energy programs, then please do check out their website, nbpower.com, and you can also find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thank you.